Well, I'm really not even sure exactly where to start with this. Um, but it's a story. It's a good story. It's an interesting story. And it's about cryptocurrency and how I made and lost about $1.7 million with cryptocurrency. And a lot of people don't know what it is still. It's still very young and early technology, and I believe in it. And I think that it's going to have as big an impact as the internet did. I think it's the biggest thing since the internet and social media. And it's kind of like the next step in the evolution technologically: internet, social media, and then cryptocurrency and decentralized applications and stuff. And a lot of people are not, a lot of people don't look into cryptocurrency, and for a long time I had never looked into it because I assumed it was this highly complicated, esoteric like thing that you have to be like a programmer or know how to code or a hacker or something. I had no idea what it was, and I think a lot of people feel like that. Or that's the perception that it has. Like it's this just weird thing, no one understands it. And the truth of it actually is that it's just about as simple as email. You have your address, and there's a bunch of different kinds of cryptocurrencies, and that's the real trick, is finding out, well, which one do you think is the best? Which one do you think works the best as money? But you have your address, and if you want to receive cryptocurrency, you share your address with whoever's going to send it, and if you want to send cryptocurrency to someone else, you get their address. And it really is, it's that simple. You download the wallet, and there's, different ones have different, some of them you don't even have to download. There's web wallets where it's just a website. And I first got into it, and this is just the truth. My aunt, it's kind of funny, my aunt and my cousins came out to visit my grandmother a few months ago, and they came and saw me too. And my aunt asked me, they knew that I was involved with cryptocurrency, and she was like, how did you even get into that? Like, how did you even learn about this? And I kind of, I guess I was not completely honest with her, because they're very like fundamentalist Christian, straight edge people, and they're a really good family. And I haven't, they lived across the country from me most of my life. I've only met them a few times, but I kind of was intentionally vague with her about it, because the truth of how I got into cryptocurrency was using it to buy, drugs off of the darknet. And it was in like late 2016 that I started learning how to access these marketplaces and use Bitcoin to purchase it. And this very simple version of what cryptocurrency is that it's a network with a lot of computers attached to it, and all of the computers have the same record of the transactions. So the reason that people believe in it a lot, or a lot of people do, the reason I believe in it the most, is it's outside of government control. It's a system of value and a record that can't be manipulated, and it is not affected by inflation like the US dollar is. And the problem with it right now is that it's so early and it's so volatile that cryptocurrency can shoot up, it can go times 1,000, and it can go down by 99%. You never know what's going to happen. It's way too volatile. Most people don't want to put much money in it, which is wise overall. But that's how I got into it, was just buying drugs. And The first time I bought any Bitcoin was right at the end of 2016 to buy some LSD, and I didn't think much of it about the actual cryptocurrency. I was like, yeah, I'm just using this to get these drugs. And then what I took notice of was when a few months later I wanted to buy some more, right? Because I was only buying small amounts. I was just buying a little bit at a time, and I still had a little bit of Bitcoin left that I had bought a few months back. But one Bitcoin was $900 when I first bought it, and then I came back and one Bitcoin was worth like $1,300. And so the little bit I had was worth more than it had been. And I was like, that was when it clicked. And I realized, I got into this to get drugs, but actually I should research this actual technology. And a lot of people got into it like that. And it's kind of an ironic thing. A lot of the early, Bitcoin millionaires and stuff got into it to buy drugs. And there were a lot of, drug dealers who got rich off of it. But anyways, so that was how I got into it. And I initially put a few $1,000s into it. I put like $1,900 of my own money, and my mom gave me a few $1,000s, like $5,000, which was really cool of her. She was like, you know what, take this, and just, she was excited that I was learning about it. And, we were really financially struggling for a long time, and my mom, thankfully, finally got her VA disability in 2016, and it had been pending for like almost 10 years. So she got it, and she had a little bit of money, and she gave me a little bit of money, and I became completely obsessed with it. And I mean unhealthily. I was spending all day, every day, reading about it, learning about it, watching the market, watching the prices change, keeping up with the news. And it's a lot to take in. It is, going from knowing nothing about it to actually, it's a lot, and it's daunting. And looking back, I wish I had had a healthier approach to it. I have this compulsive, addictive issue in my life where I get obsessive about things, and like something clicked in my mind, and it was like the dopamine and the chemicals. I just got unhealthily obsessed with it, like just 24 hours a day, neglecting my family, neglecting my wife. This was before we were married. Just not really there for anyone. And so that was in like May that I bought my first Bitcoin. And I started out with Bitcoin, which is the original. It was the very first cryptocurrency. And then I started learning about other cryptocurrencies that are newer. And it's only natural that Bitcoin was the first, but then there have been other currencies that have come out afterwards that I think are better in different ways. There are currencies that are private. A lot of people think Bitcoin is untraceable, but it's not. It's actually extremely traceable. There are cryptocurrencies that have come out that are actually private and untraceable, that are a lot better, that I think are a lot better than Bitcoin. And there are currencies that have come out, and one specifically that is a lot faster, and there's no fees, because Bitcoin transactions have fees, and most cryptocurrency transactions have fees for each transaction, and it can range from some cryptocurrencies have a 1 cent or less than 1 cent fee. And then Bitcoin, at the peak of the mania in 2017, the network started getting really congested, and there was a point where the Bitcoin fees went up to $20 or $30 per transaction. Like if you wanted it to go through in an hour or two and not take days to get to the person or wherever you were sending it, it was like, $20 or $30 fee, which is really crazy. And so overall, I would rather have Bitcoin than the United States dollar. but there are currencies that I would rather have more than Bitcoin. So I got into it in May, and then I invested in this one coin. Like, the value started going up, and I think it was like in late October, I put like a fifth of my cryptocurrency into this coin. And I want to be very clear that I'm not promoting cryptocurrency to anyone watching. Like, I'm not trying to talk anyone into it. That's why I'm trying to not even use the names of the currencies, because, you know, and if anyone wants to ask me, I will be open about it. But cryptocurrency social media in 2017 and got so toxic, and many, if not most, of the biggest cryptocurrency YouTubers and Twitter people were just completely predatory and manipulative. And they would say, ooh, buy this one, here's the good one, here's where you should put your money. And it was because they were invested in it. And it was just as clear as an individual, you know, trying to profit off of other people and saying it, but without being open that, like, oh, I'm heavily invested in this and you should be too. They would just be like, here's why this is good. And a lot of people listened to these YouTubers, and I don't want to ever be like that. And I really hope that you know, it crashed. Cryptocurrency crashed. It peaked in 2017 and early 2018, and then it crashed, and it's just been crashing and crashing and crashing over the last couple of years. And I personally think it's all starting to kind of bottom out. And I just hope that over the next few years, if there ever is, you know, another wave where it's all going up again and people are getting into it, I want there to be a healthier, I would like there to be a healthier social media experience where people were more honest about it. But anyways, so I put a fifth of what I had at that point into this coin that has instant transactions. Like, Bitcoin and a lot of the cryptocurrencies can take from 20 minutes to an hour for a transaction to go through. And this coin was almost instant, like less than a second. And there was no fees at all. And it's just a different technology. It's a different approach to cryptocurrency. And over the next few months, it started going up a lot. And that 1/5 that I put into it, over probably like a month and a half, it went like times, 250 or something, like just insane. And I got married at the end of 2017, and so this massive like cryptocurrency mania that happened, where my net worth of the cryptocurrency I had was skyrocketing, coincided with me, kind of planning my wedding. And like the night before my wedding, my cryptocurrency was worth like $700,000, and we all went out to eat, and I remember people congratulating me, and I was so naive, and it's so embarrassing looking back on it. And my ego at that point had already, like, as soon as that dollar value started going up, my ego started inflating too. And shamefully and comically and like hilariously and sadly. And I remember people congratulating me and being like, oh wow, you're such a financial genius or whatever. And it really wasn't. It was that there was this bubble happening, and everyone who had gotten in earlier in the year was up by some amount. And so like the night before my wedding, and then to give you an example of how fast it went up, like 3 or 4 days later on my honeymoon, it had gone from 700,000 and it peaked at the absolute most to 1.7 million. It went up, it increased by $1 million in value in just like 5 days. And of course I should have cashed it out. I mean, looking back on it, it's very obvious. But through a mixture of greed and being like, oh man, this is going up so fast, it's probably going to be at 10 million a month from now. there was the greed, and then also I did believe in it. I still had a lot of faith in it, and I was like, this is it, man. The human race is buying into it, and this is it, you know. It's going to go up, and it's just, I had this unrealistic view that it's going to just skyrocket and then plateau, and there will be no, you know, what goes up must come down. I wasn't thinking like that. I was like, what goes up, it's going to just plateau at a certain point for sure, but then it's going to keep going up. And I cashed out a small amount, and it went to my ego, and it's embarrassing to remember the person I turned into. And, you know, there's that kind of, it's like a trope or a stereotype of people changing when they get rich, right? And it'll be like, you know, dude, you're not the same, you know, in movies or whatever, you've changed. You're not the person like that I grew up with, and the money went to your head. And usually that kind of getting rich process happens over years. But for me, it was like, 2 months, and it went to my head immediately. I was on my honeymoon. My wife and I went on a road trip. We went up through California, and we were in San Francisco one night, and I was so obnoxious. We were walking around on the sidewalk, and it's so embarrassing, but it's just true. I was just saying, look at that person. Look, I bet I'm richer than that person. Look at this group of people. I bet I'm richer than all of them put together. It was obnoxious. And my wife was like, she was really cringing, because that was not how I was when she met me. Like, I had turned into the polar opposite. When she met me, I was like very, I had just recently gotten off of drugs for the first time. I was addicted to opiates for years and years, from the time I was a teenager to my early 20s. And she met me like in a period where I had just gotten off of them, and I was just finally starting to get perspective and clarity about, like, here's what matters in the world and here's what doesn't. And it was kind of the first time in my adult life that I had ever actually confronted reality and been like, no, what do I really think about stuff? Because after my dad died, and from the time I was a teenager, I just had this period of like 6 years where I was just on opiates, abusing them and watching TV every day. But that was it. And I didn't think about things. I was like, screw the world, screw everyone. Life is bad. And I'm not going to commit suicide because my dad and his dad did it, and I can't do that to my family. But that doesn't mean that I have to be nice to anyone, and that doesn't mean I have to try to make anything of myself. I'm just going to try to feel good as much as I can. And she met me at a period where I was just coming out of that, and I was like, wow, there's important things. There are things that are important. And, we had this period of getting to know each other and falling in love. And, but then here it was like a little over a year later, I had turned into this Mr. Moneybags, egomaniac. And she was just like, she was really cringing. And I knew that she was did not approve of how I was acting. But I was just on a power trip, and it was the craziest power trip that I've ever been on. And just, the little app on my phone that checked the price, I was just like a rat refreshing it. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of times a day, maybe even thousands of times per day at certain points. Like, it was an absolute obsession. And out of all the addictions I've had in my life, I mean, I think it was the most consuming. It was the least chill addiction and obsession I ever had. And I realized, looking back on it, how money and wealth absolutely can put someone on a power trip and be corrupting. And I had, before that happened, I had a lot of ideas about, these billionaires, they need to help people more. And I don't understand why billionaires are still focused so much on making money. Don't they have enough? And through this experience that I had, I realized, like, it is an addiction and an obsession. And I understand now why people will keep, and it'll be like these celebrities, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, and they're still spending every hour of every day being like, no, I can get more, I can make more, because it is so addicting. And I think a big part of that is because of how much it's valued in society. And it's like, hey, if you got a lot of money, you're important, and that you're doing it right. And so, anyways, I cashed out a small amount, but looking back on it, it's like the thing is, like, obviously, I wish I had just taken it all out and been like, ooh, and then I would have still, even if I had to pay a third in taxes, I might have still had about $1 million left. But the thing is, ultimately, I see now that I wasn't ready for it. I was not mature enough to, the way it went to my head, if I had locked that in and been like, oh, see, kind of made more wise decisions financially, I might still be on some kind of weird ego power trip now, and maybe not, but ultimately, I went through, and this comment that I left, that everyone found my channel through, was about me struggling with suicidal thoughts and ideas, and this generational thing where my dad and his dad did it, and I have been attacked with it so heavily. And this cryptocurrency thing, more than I ever had been in my life, I was attacked. And until last year, even late last year, I was still being attacked and beating myself up, and just being like, you idiot, you should kill yourself, you should end your life, you could have had $1 million, and you stupid, greedy idiot, just bombarded. It's horrible, and I'm really thankful to have been delivered from that. And I last year had an experience where I prayed when I went out to visit my mom, and a guy she knew came out, and he was going to pray for my healing physically, but then when he started talking to me, he had a point where he said, and he was real with me, and he was like, look, it sounds like you say that you believe in God, but you don't live like you do. And I was like, that's accurate. I was like, that is an accurate statement. I think I needed to hear that. And I prayed with this guy and my mom, and asked God, basically, man, please deliver me from this, all of the negative stuff. And since then, I have been, for the most part, I have not been attacked with the beating myself up. And I've kind of accepted that it happened the way it was supposed to. And I still believe a lot in cryptocurrency, and it went up so much, and then it came all the way back down, almost to just a little bit more than what I started with, and which I'm still thankful for, because a lot of people actually lost money on it, and mine, it just kind of came back to where I started. And I do, technically, the IRS claims that I owe them a huge amount of money because of how they tax, when you trade one cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency, and the way they tax it is based on the value that it was at its peak. And so now that it's all come back down, they don't adjust the rate. They don't say, oh, that would be the fair thing, I think, would be for them to say, oh, this currency is now down at 98 or 99% from where it was when you made the trade. So just pay us that equivalent ratio, just pay us 2% of that. That would be fair. And they're saying that I owe them way, way, way more than I have now. And ultimately, I have most of my money in cryptocurrency, and they can't take it from me. And that's why I like it so much, is, if you have money in a bank, if you have a house, if you have a car, any asset, they can seize anything. They can take anything from you. They take it right out of your bank. for any reason. And I don't trust the government. I don't trust the banks. I don't trust the system. There's still people that do, and that's okay. And I'm not here trying to tell you you're a fool for that. And maybe I'm the fool, who knows? But I don't trust them. And I like, I like that they can't take it from me. And a lot of people now have gotten really caught up, and I got caught up in the greed of cryptocurrency and the money making aspect of it. But I've kind of returned now to the original reason I got into it, was just realizing it's a revolutionary thing that can give power back to us, like the people who have been so taken advantage of and robbed by the Federal Reserve and the banking system and the governments. And I like that they can't take it from me. And, if it ever goes back up in value, if that's how it's supposed to go, and, I'll pay my taxes like if I'm ever able to. That's all I can say. And also, if there was ever a point again where I have that much money, or maybe even more, and that's how it's supposed to go, I want to use it in the best way I can for as much good of the human race as I can. And I don't want to let it go to my head, and I don't want to be on a power trip again. And I want to try to just, I've thought of so many different things of, like, if I got to that point again, different ways I could use it and good things I could do. And, if that's what's supposed to happen, then it will. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And I've accepted that now. And I would say, I personally think it's going to come back, and it's going to be bigger than it ever was even a few years ago. And I think the media will start talking about it more and more again, and there will be people, the YouTubers will start shilling and promoting their projects and just trying to take advantage of people. And so if there's anyone watching this, if you ever do get interested in it, and if over the next few years anyone ever tries to talk you in, and it could be family, friends, anyone tries to talk you into buying some or investing in it, feel free to ask me. I'll let you know what I think about whatever you want to know about it. And I'm not ever going to try to promote the ones I'm invested in a way that's like, hey, you should buy this, or ultimately, I think cryptocurrency as an investment, if people want an investment that's relatively safe, buy stock in Apple or Amazon or some company that's going to be around forever. Maybe, we'll see how it goes. But that's a safe, I think the only healthy way for me to interact with cryptocurrency is that I believe in it. It's not about an intellectual thing about the value will increase and then I will make dollars from it. It's that I believe in it, and I believe it has potential to give power back to us, to the majority of people. And it's a way that we can fight against the corrupt governments and the corrupt banks and this system that just squeezes us dry, man. It just wrings us dry and takes and takes and takes from us. And I see cryptocurrency as a way for us to fight back in as critical and as a way as we can. That's the worst thing we could ever do to the governments and the banks, is to start just be like, hey, you guys have fun with your dollar pyramid scheme. We're going to, for the most part, just use this other thing that's outside of your control. That will hurt them more than any violence, any physical violence ever could. And it's a way to engage in a revolutionary thing and take power back that is not violent. It's not about, we got to assassinate these people who have been taking advantage of it. It's like, no, let them do what they've been doing. We can peacefully, there are things with the internet and social media and technology, and I believe cryptocurrency now, where we can peacefully take the power back. I really do think so. And so if anyone ever is interested in it, or in the next few years, if the media does start hyping it up again and anyone is thinking about it, I would be more than happy to interact with anyone. And, you know, the safest way basically is don't take anyone's word for it. Don't listen to anyone saying, here's the one you should do. The best way is to just learn about it yourself, which is a big process, and I know is daunting, and a lot of people are like, oh man, I'm not smart enough. I will tell you, it's not as complicated as you're thinking. And it ended up being a lot less complicated than I thought it was. And ultimately, it's just about as simple as email. Like I said before, you have your address. If you want to send to someone, you get their address. That's it. You know, if you want to send it to an exchange and trade it for dollars, or trade dollars for it, or trade the cryptocurrency for another cryptocurrency, you make an account on the exchange, and then you have your exchange address that you send from your wallet. And it's a simple thing overall. And the other thing too is that you can experiment with them, and you can try out a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. You don't have to put a big amount of, you could take $20 and try out 20 or 30 cryptocurrencies. Just buy a small amount and send it around and see which ones you think work the best. And also don't put like a huge amount of money into it at once. That was what happened in 2017, and there were people like taking out loans and putting their life savings in, and that is not good. That is not good. I really think it should be treated more like a savings account, where it's like whatever small amount you do the research, find the ones that you truly believe in and think are the best decentralized money, and then bit by bit treat it like a savings account, and just like, you know, whatever amount you feel comfortable per month, accumulating it at all different prices, whether it goes up or down. It's like you're just kind of, you know, I think that's the best way to do it ultimately. And so I'm still in the cryptocurrency community, and I'm trying to do as much as I can to be positive and be nice to people. And there is a lot of nastiness and bitterness in cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of people where it's like, oh, I'm invested in this one, and so everyone else's project, if it's not mine, then it's crap, and I'll treat you like an idiot, and I'll call you an idiot for being invested in anything other than what I am. And there's a lot of like, which is how it goes on the internet a lot of the time. There's people being nasty to each other over all kinds of stuff. But I hope that overall, you know, the cryptocurrency community could be ideally united and civil with each other, and be able to say, hey, I'm not invested in your project, but I hope it goes well. And, you know, if we could all just call out the actual scams, because there are ones that come along that it's not an issue of, oh, I don't think it's a good one. It's like there are ones that come along and it's like, no, that is a straight up scam. So it's the Wild West. It really is. It's a brand new thing, and it's extremely volatile, and it's 24 hours a day. Like the stock market is 9 to 5, right? 5 days a week, stock market. But cryptocurrency never stops. It's always fluctuating and changing and evolving, and it just never stops. It's this one continuous experience. And I hope to just maintain as much as I can a healthy relationship with it and have a balance. You know, whether it skyrockets or starts looking like it might go to zero over the next few years, who knows? It's all or nothing. It really is. It's all or nothing. Like, it's either going to get huge or it's going to go away and never come back. And I just want to maintain a balance with it and have a healthy relationship with it. And so, yeah, that's my 30 minutes. That's not too bad, 34 minutes. you know. I want to try to write about it ultimately at some point, and I'm not as comfortable with writing as I am making videos, and I'm not, you know, as good at writing. I haven't really practiced it a whole lot, but I would like to write some kind of, maybe like a small book or series of articles about my experience with it. It's been a really exciting thing, and it's still happening. So, and it has, you know, it has the ability to be either very toxic and bad for me if I am obsessed with it, or if I'm too emotionally like beating myself up about, you know, doing it wrong. But I'm thankful to have found more of a balance with it, and right now it's a very cool thing to be engaged with overall, and I think it adds a lot to my life now at this point. Now that I've found more of a balance, it's fun to be a part of something that is like just brand new and has never happened before in the history of the human race. It's just, you know, all or nothing all the time. So if you watched this whole video, thank you. Thanks for taking the time. And like I said, let me know if you ever are interested in it. And especially if anyone ever starts to like talk you or try to talk you into putting money into it, feel free to you know, ask me. And so thank you for watching, and I hope you had a good day. I hope the rest of your day is good too.